application we understand up to now. So today I want to cover much of the part or much of the stuff in detail. Today's topic is our actual journey into the Android. The real subject of Android is going to start from today. So up to now, in the last two classes, just we given a overview idea about what were the market and why mobile applications. Before that, what were the business of server-side applications? What were the roles and responsibilities of a mobile developer? What type of categories they are looking for the mobile developer's perspective? And we covered some of the things and some of the steps as usually. All right. Now, today I want to talk about Android architecture, the high-level architecture of Android. So as you already know that Android is responsible for tracking the current location of a mobile. Why Android introduced in the market in 2003? The main reason is to track the current location of a mobile. So sorry, my screen is not visible. I'm showing my screen. Okay, fine. Cool. Okay, so Android architecture. So Android architecture, if you observe here, before going to jump into this topic, I want to cover some of the fundamental points in detail actually. So Android is purely dedicated to Java, that is Android is implemented on Java, Android implemented on Java and used Linux kernel as a base operating system. Android implemented on Java and used Linux kernel as a base operating system. So what do you mean by this? The Android software is implemented on Java and also they used Linux kernel as a base operating system. That was the point. Why they used Java? Because you already know Java comes with a lot of features and there is the only one programming language, platform independency, excellent garbage collection in memory management, object oriented, like that so many features are there in Java. Moreover, Java is an open source. So what do you mean by open source? We can download the software with a free of cost, that is without paying a single rupee, and also you can customize that software according to your requirement. That facility is also available. That is the meaning of open source. So Android implemented on Java and used Linux kernel as a base operating system. So why they use Linux kernel as a base operating system? First of all, what do you mean by kernel? Kernel is nothing but it is a central piece. Kernel is nothing but it is a central piece of your operating system. Remember, every operating system is having a kernel. Okay, as you understand, operating system is a mediator between your software and hardware of your computer machine. In order to communicate your software with your hardware or hardware with your software, there is a mediator called operating system. Okay, so on the top on your operating system, your software applications are running. In the beside of your operating system, hardware is available. So it is a mediator. So every operating system is having a main unit, main component called kernel. Okay. So what is kernel? Kernel is used for performing. What are the responsibilities I'm typing here? Responsibilities of kernel. Memory management. Memory management. So what do you mean by memory management? Allocating some amount of memory in the RAM to execute or to process our software application. Who will allocate the memory in the RAM? You know, RAM is nothing but is your primary memory, right? Secondary memory is nothing but your hard disk. Everyone knows that. That's the fundamental point. So, who will allocate the memory inside a RAM? In your operating system, the central component called kernel will take care about this thing. Memory management. How much amount of memory to allocate inside a RAM? So that responsibility is taken care by kernel. Kernel is responsible to create a native thread or OS level thread. Kernel is responsible to create a native thread or OS level thread. OS level means operating system level thread. I think many people heard about multi-threading concept in Java. Okay, or in your programming languages, whatever the threads they are saying, those threads are different. The threads what we created from our application, that is different. The thread which is created internally in the OS, that is different. So if you look at the diagram, you will get the perfect clarity. I want to show you. So you can see this diagram. Suppose in your Java application, assume in your Java application, you are executing the Java program. For your Java program, JVM is responsible to create a thread. These are the threads. Okay, these threads are created by the JVM for executing your software application. So whatever the software application we have, your Java application, whatever the Java application we have, okay, whatever the Java application we have, for executing every Java application, the JVM is responsible to create some thread. How many threads you can create inside the JVM? So that is up to your coding. Don't create 100 threads or 500 threads. Maximum 15 to 20 threads is more than 10 to 15 threads. In higher applications also, people will manage with. Whenever if you need more number of threads, you need to increase your RAM size also. Okay. So threading story different, guys. I will explain separately. This is not a right time to talk in detail about the threading, but for your understanding purpose, I am explaining a brief idea about what is thread. A thread is nothing but it is a submemory created inside a process. A thread is nothing but it is a submemory created inside a process. Thread is nothing but what? It is a submemory created inside a process. So what is a process? Process is nothing but it is a main memory unit. Process is nothing but it is a main memory unit. So every software application, not only Java application, guys, any software application. So whatever the software you installed on your operating system, in order to execute your software application, what you need to do? You have to create a process. Who will create a process? Process is nothing but allocating the memory inside a RAM for executing your software application. Who will create a process? That process is internally created by your kernel. Inside the process, native threads, OS level threads will be created. How many OS level threads are available? That is based on your operating system design and your amount of RAM which was available, that will take care. But if you observe here in my Java application, I have 3 threads. I created 3 threads. These 3 threads are created by JVM, Java Virtual Machine. These are known as Java threads. These Java threads are linked with your OS level threads, nothing but native threads maintained by the kernel. How many native threads are available and what was the capacity mean? That control is not there in Java. Okay. Linking your thread with the OS level thread. Linking your thread with the OS level thread is nothing but the concept of scheduling. So scheduling is nothing but scheduling. So scheduling is nothing but how much amount of processor time based on the current load, how much amount of processor time we have. Your processor time is divided into slices, available time of the processor, and that slice time randomly distributed, randomly allocated for your native thread. the thread which was linked. So native thread is the main thread which is controlling our Java thread. Not only Java thread, guys. Any programming language, what are the threads they created in their application? These threads are internally connected with native level threads or native threads exactly. Native level threads or native threads, whatever it may be. So this is known as scheduling. So scheduling, what is thread? What we are doing in the thread? To perform parallel activities. Parallel activities. For example, you're browsing the online video, right? Whenever if we are browsing the online video, we are doing so many parallel things in the background. Your online video player buffering the video content from internet, means downloading that video content, and your player is keep on playing that video. That is, two threads are running in the parallel. One thread task is downloading the content from the video parallelly, and another thread is responsible for playing the video. Like that, you can do several tasks parallelly with the help of your threads. Threads are very lightweight because the thread creation is a lightweight task, because thread is a submemory created inside a process. This is nothing but a process, the outside border. Who is creating the process for our Java threads means your JVM is responsible. Your JVM is responsible to create the process. This is outside is a process, a memory, a main memory unit. Even though in order to create this process by the JVM, internally JVM asks the kernel to allocate some amount of memory in the RAM. Who reserves the memory in the RAM? The primary contact is kernel only. So kernel will do memory management, means allocating some amount of memory for your process. Kernel is responsible to create a native thread or OS level thread. How many native threads? Native thread means, what do you mean by that? This thread is under the control of kernel. That is the meaning of native thread or OS level thread, operating system created thread. And scheduling. Scheduling means how much amount of processor time is available. Many people will get the doubt here. How much amount of processor time means? What do you mean by processor time? You know, right? Every computer system is having a processor, like octa-core processor, dual-core processor, core-to-geo processor, Core i3 processor, Core i7 processor. Like that, we have different processors, right? Even in our mobiles also, we have a processor. Processor is the main thing. Yeah, correct. FCFS scheduling. So anything. Okay. So what this processor will do means, processor understands binary code instructions, the very low level instructions, machine code, 1 zeros. So processor execute that binary code instructions inside your native thread only, inside the native thread only, with the help of your native thread. Means whatever the code is there inside the thread, whatever the code which was there inside the thread, this code is nothing but the binary code instructions only. Your JVM is responsible to convert into that native code instructions. That native code means, what do you mean by that native code? your OS dependent native code instructions, your OS understandable code instructions. So it depends on the processor what you are using on your computer system, what type of operating system you are using. Your JVM will take care about transforming the code into that OS understandable code, that processor understandable code instructions. Bytecode instructions are converted into OS level native code. So processor time is nothing but imagine right now a small example. You started operating system, means you turn on the PC or you turn on your laptop first time. Whenever you turn on the laptop, your operating system is newly started. What happens whenever your operating system was newly started at that time, you are not opened any software application as of now. Imagine now I opened one web browser to browse some website. One web browser I opened. Similarly, I opened one audio player to listen the music. So then what happens here? Your browser is one software application and your audio player is one software application. In order to execute these two software applications, internally two processes will be created. Two different processes will be created. One process for one software application to execute. In that process, how many number of threads will create? That is up to your application requirement. That is application level threads. These are the threads, what I am saying. These threads are linked with the native threads only. Remember, native threads are fixed, man. These native threads are common to any of your application. How many number of applications which are running? Among that, how many number of threads are created in your application? These threads are linked to available thread. Okay, like that they will reassign reusability. So if native threads are idle, system will kill it to save the memory. Again, native thread will be created later. Okay, that arrangement will be done internally in the background. The kernel will take care about all these things. Why I'm telling this story, guys, means not from entertainment, to understand the picture of kernel. What was the importance of kernel? Android programmer must know the beauty of kernel before understanding Android architecture. Okay, guys, that's why I told all this story. So these are the responsibilities of kernel. So memory management, creating a native thread or OS level thread, scheduling, and communicating with IO devices, input-output devices like keyboard, monitor, mouse, internally connecting with your motherboard, etc. and etc. You can do all those things. That communication is a responsibility taken care by your kernel only. So these are all the functionalities of kernel, the central piece of your operating system, guys. Any operating system, that can be a Mac operating system, or that can be a Solaris operating system, or that can be a Windows operating system, whatever it may be. So every operating system is having a central piece. That central piece is nothing but a kernel. Got it, guys? So now let's come back to our Android architecture. I will answer to your questions what you posted in the chat in the end of the class, guys. Any doubts or any questions you can ask me in the end of the class. In the middle of the class, if you post any questions, I cannot answer because I am not a processor. I cannot do multi-threading at a time. Okay, so I will concentrate only on one task. I will teach the class now. Answering your questions, I will do in the ending of the class. If you want, you can post it in the chat. I will answer them in the end of the class. Okay, guys, that's what the system will follow in my class. Clear? Now let's come to our Android architecture. So every Android powered mobile, see, it doesn't matter what company you're using, whether it is a MI phone or Honor mobile or Samsung mobile. So many different companies are there, no? Those are nothing but vendors, the manufacturers of your mobile. Any Android mobile, any Android powered mobile, your architecture remains same only. The high level architecture, what I am going to explain, this is very, very important. So every Android device comes with the bottom layer, obviously, that is nothing but your hardware. The bottom layer is nothing but your hardware. Hardware is nothing but your motherboard, your touch screen internally, what are the sensors we have, okay, your microphone, speakers, etc., including your webcam, everything comes in the part of hardware only. So on the top of hardware, we have a central component called, on the top of the hardware, there was a central component called Linux kernel. Remember, they are not installed Linux operating system. They used Linux kernel only, the central piece of the Linux operating system. That is nothing but a Linux kernel only they used. Okay, don't misunderstand, guys. Linux kernel is a central piece of Linux operating system. They are using only Linux kernel only. That is nothing but you can consider it just like a mini operating system, right? Yes or no? So this kernel, why they used Linux kernel here? Because two reasons. Linux is a open source. Linux is a open source. No need to pay even single rupee for them. You can customize it. You can customize that Linux kernel. You can modify the code inside the Linux kernel according to your requirement also. That facility is available. Okay. So why they use Linux kernel means these are the two reasons. One is open source, means you can download, you can configure this Linux kernel freely without paying even single rupee. Second one is you can customize the Linux kernel, means you can modify the code inside the Linux kernel according to your hardware suitability or compatibility. You can do that. That facility is also available. Third important thing is Linux is a command-based operating system where our Windows operating system is a GUI based operating system, graphical user interface. Okay, which one is more faster? Which one is more faster is command based operating system is very faster than the GUI based. Why? What is the reason? I will tell you one simple example. Suppose I want to copy one file in one file. I want to copy my image from one location to another location. Say like image is there in the C drive. I want to move into F drive. I want to copy it. Suppose my files are there in my pen drive. I want to copy into E drive. Okay. Like that, what you will do, from your source location, from where you want to copy that file, right click over there with your mouse and select copy, and wherever you want to paste that file, go to that location, again right click with your mouse and paste. That means what you are doing, you are interacting with the GUI, that pop-up menu, copy paste. So without interacting with the GUI in Windows, you cannot do it. Of course, by DOS commands you can do it. Moreover, people will not go. Windows is a GUI based operating system. Okay. So, but in Linux kernel, in comparing to Linux, everything is command based, no GUI. Everything is command. Commands are very faster than the GUI. Commands consume less amount of memory, less amount of processor time as compared to the GUI. So that's why performance-wise, Linux is very good comparing to other operating systems. That's why Linux operating system they are using in productions also, in production servers, in the live servers, in our real-time companies. 99.9% they are using Linux only in the production environments. Okay, so this is the third reason. Fourth reason is Linux is supported to all the latest versions of hardware. Today we are using audio driver with version 1.0. After some days, again the new version introduced 1.2 or 1.3, something like that. Don't worry, your Linux is 100% support. Whatever the hardware they released, it is fully compatible. But Windows and other operating systems are not compatible, man. You have to wait until they given the support. You have to update, the patch updates will come for your operating system. Once you download the patch updates, then only your operating system supports for that. So Linux will give 100% support for latest hardware changes also. What are the audio devices or video devices or graphic drivers, sensors, webcam related, motherboard internal related drivers, whatever it may be, A to Z, it will give 100% support, guys. That's why, because of all these reasons, Android decided to use Linux kernel as a base operating system in every device. This is one of the components. Got it, guys? You understand what I'm saying? So now on the top of the Linux, you can see here. So there is a layer on the top of the Linux. This is known as DVM. Okay. DVM stands for Dalvik Virtual Machine. DVM stands for what? Dalvik Virtual Machine. Right? So on the top on the Linux kernel, there is a component called DVM. Like how Java applications are executed by JVM, Android applications are executed by DVM. Dalvik Virtual Machine was executed. DVM is a execution engine which is responsible to execute our Android applications, Dalvik virtual machine. So what is the difference between JVM and DVM? I will explain in the next coming class clearly. Okay. So our Android applications cannot interact with the Linux kernel directly. So in between our Linux kernel and Android applications, there is a mediator called DVM, Dalvik Virtual Machine. So on the top of the Dalvik Virtual Machine, there is a library called Android SDK plus NDK. This is the layer. Software Development Kit, SDK stands for. NDK stands for Native Development Kit. Okay. SDK stands for Software Development Kit. NDK stands for Native Development Kit. So what is the difference, guys? SDK is used for developing Android software apps. Means what are the apps you published in the Google Play Store? All those apps are nothing but SDK apps only. Our course is fully dedicated for SDK, not for NDK. NDK is used for who want to develop a video drivers or audio drivers or graphics related drivers, sensor related drivers, touch screen related drivers, like that, internally connecting with your hardware directly. Those people will use NDK, Native Development Kit. That means what you have to do, you have to write a C++ code along with our Android code, both to be integrated together to communicate with your hardware. Remember, we are not using NDK in our projects. NDK is used internally by your company manufacturer. So that means, suppose this mobile is under the development of Samsung. This is a Samsung mobile. Samsung is having a team separately, a dedicated team, that is NDK team is there, Android NDK, that people will work dedicatedly on the hardware drivers, hardware related driver development for their respective mobile. Tomorrow, if new model has been introduced by the Samsung, new mobile phone, again their hardware equipment will be changed, the processor will be different, the motherboard unit will be different, the webcam versions will be different, like that. Depends on that, they will develop a new hardware driver compatible to that mobile. So those people will use NDK, Native Development Kit. So Android SDK is for developing our software applications. Means what are the apps you uploaded in the Google Play Store, or what are the apps you installed on your mobile. Those apps are nothing but SDK apps only. NDK apps are completely for NDK. You cannot see NDK apps on your home screen, guys, in your mobile. If you click on the home screen, what are the app icons you are seeing there? All those are SDK apps only, not NDK. NDK, first of all, you cannot see that application visible on the home screen. That is invisible. Internally, it is running. Those are drivers. Those are applications connecting with your hardware. Okay. So Android SDK comes with a number of classes and interfaces. Interesting point is this Android SDK plus NDK, this both was written purely on the Java language, guys. This Android SDK plus NDK, even our Dalvik virtual machine, also internally based on the Java only. And on the top of Android SDK and NDK component, there was a part called services. This is very important component, guys. So services is one of the component of Android. Services is one of the component of Android actually. So services will playing the hidden role, means it is a heart of Android, guys. Without services, there is nothing in mobile application. So services plays a most important role. I will tell you an example. Whenever if you touch a finger on the screen on your mobile, whenever finger touch the screen, how mobile detects user pressed on the screen, user touched on the screen. Whenever if you double click on the screen, how device understands you double clicked on me, how it will understand. Of course, sensors only, but in between that, there was a services. Services are nothing but background jobs. Background jobs means it is like a thread. It is a thread, background thread. Okay, it is doing some background operations, hidden jobs. So similarly, whenever if you want to charge a mobile, what you will do, you plug your USB cable to your mobile. Whenever USB cable is plugged, automatically the charging mode will be detected based on the power connection. Whenever power will be connected, it is showing that battery is charging. How it will done? That is because of services only. Suppose somebody is making a call to you. How they are making a call, how mobile knows that call is coming. Of course, network provider will give the signal. Network provider means whatever the SIM you configured in your mobile, can be Airtel or something like that. But your services will do this job, guys, really. Incoming call, outgoing call, sending an SMS, receiving an SMS, touching the home screen, what are the apps you are going to see. Lot of services are there. So many different services are available. So all these services are doing the same thing, background operations only. Okay, we'll talk about services more detail, guys. It is a heart of Android. Without services, there is nothing in mobile application. If services are not there, there is no meaning of Android, first of all. So on the top of your services, your apps are there. Your Android applications. So this is the structure, guys. Your Android applications are available here. Remember, Android apps, this Android apps, people can download from the Google Play Store. Which app you want to install from the Play Store, just you can download it and that app is installed on your mobile. Generally, there are the two different memories in your mobile actually. Every Android mobile comes with two memories. One is primary memory, that is nothing but your RAM. Another one is secondary memory, that is nothing but your hard disk. In your hard disk means you know, right? 30 GB, 64 GB. This is hard disk memory. RAM is 4 GB RAM, 6 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM. This is primary memory. In this memory only your process will be created. In that process, several threads will be created. Like that, the memory management will be happened internally by the kernel. Multitasking. Hard disk is nothing but saving your applications, your software stuff, everything will be loaded here. So your code, your binary code is loaded into secondary memory into primary memory every time, every time, every time during the execution of the program. It will take care. So Android apps are always, what are the apps you downloaded from the Google Play Store? All those apps are resided in your secondary memory only, in your hard disk only. Okay. If your hard disk is full, if sufficient space is not there, you have an option to install these Android applications into your SD card, nothing but your memory card, external memory, in your external memory. Whenever if you plug in, whenever your memory card is plugged, whenever your memory card is plugged, in that memory card, what are the apps you downloaded from the Google Play Store? You can install those apps in your memory card also. This is external memory. So what is an advantage, guys? Whenever if you unmount this SD card, if you remove this SD card from your mobile, what are the apps which are installed on your SD card? Those are not visible on your home screen because those are available in your external memory only. So like that, you can deal it, guys. So these are the components what you want to understand actually in your Android architecture, high level architecture. So every Android powered mobile contains all these components. So whatever the Android mobile you purchased, it doesn't matter which company it is, the architecture remains same only. So let's recollect the point what we discussed up to now about this Android architecture one more time. So every Android powered mobile contains a base layer called hardware. So hardware is nothing but including your motherboard, your audio driver, microphone and video, webcam, your touch screen, your processor, everything comes with the hardware only. So Linux kernel is a central piece of your Linux operating system. Linux kernel is very small, memory size is very small because this is a mini operating system. Why they selected Linux kernel mean there are so many reasons are there. Some of the main reasons are Linux is open source. So means you can download it freely without paying even single rupee. You can customize the Linux kernel, means you can modify the code inside the Linux kernel. You can modify the software to support for your hardware changes. You can customize it. And also Linux is excellent in performance because command-based operating system. Linux is a so commands are very faster. It consumes less amount of memory for processing and all. Memory management is very good and multitasking is very good. And Linux supports to all the latest versions of the hardware. There is no problem in tomorrow if new hardware changes was introduced, it will keep on supporting. So there is no problem with that. So on the top on the Linux kernel, there is a main component of your Android that is known as DVM, Dalvik Virtual Machine. So Dalvik is nothing but this is a small island name. Dalvik is nothing but this is a small island name in the country of Ireland. In the country of Ireland, there is a small island name called Dalvik. You can Google it. The one of the fellow from the Android team in the 20 members in 2003 came from this village, came from this island, Dalvik, nearer to that. So that's why the name is given like this. So Dalvik Virtual Machine, DVM, is responsible to execute our Android applications. Means your Android applications are executed on the Linux kernel with the help of DVM only. It is our execution engine. Okay. But in some versions, Android uses ART, Android Runtime Environment, a replacement of DVM. In some versions, they experimented with ART, Android Runtime Environment, as a replacement of DVM in some versions, but due to some performance issues, performance problems, again, they back to DVM only. We'll tell you what were the problems between ART and DVM and what is the difference between JVM and DVM. These points I will discuss in the tomorrow's class, more detail. So on the top of the DVM, your Android libraries are available. Android SDK and NDK. Android SDK comes with predefined classes and interfaces which are used for developing our Android applications to communicate with our hardware. So Android SDK, these classes and interfaces, what we have, these are used for developing software applications, Android software applications. Because C++ is used for contacting. No need to update the Linux. So no need to update the Linux, guys. Linux updating, that everything will be taken care by the Android, because Linux kernel, whatever the version they used, that will come with your Android only, your smartphone. Whatever the version of the smartphone they used internally, based on that your Android, whenever your Android is updated, at that time only Android will decide whether to update the Linux kernel version or not. Based on the requirement, that will taken care. We are not going to do anything. So remember, we are not responsible for connecting NDK with SDK. So NDK developers will take care about that. The developers who are working on NDK, who are writing the code to connect with hardware, those people will write how to communicate the C++ code with the Java code. How they will connect C++ code with Java code means via JNI, Java Native Interface. They use JNI concept as a mediator to communicate the Java code with C++ code internally. Why they are using C++? Because C++ is a low-level language to communicate with your underlying hardware directly. Okay. SDK. So this is about yes, but not sure, guys. NDK, you're not writing any code. 90% there is no chance of working with NDK. While writing SDK code, if any chance to integrate with the NDK code, you have to connect with NDK team, or you can self-update NDK. There's nothing great in that. It's C++ code only. If you know SDK, it doesn't matter to understand what is NDK, because C++ code only. But that is not required for Android software applications. It's a very rare scenario. So on the top of Android SDK and NDK component, there was a main component called services. So services are very important. Services plays a most important role in Android. It is doing the hidden job. It is doing the hidden job actually. A hidden job means background operations. So what are the background things? Like for example, you are connecting with your web application in the backend, server-side application. The moment whenever you are connecting with server-side application, who will do that connection? Who will do these background things actually? That things will taken care by services only. So the real hero of Android is services only. Without services, there is nothing. In services concept, you'll see what are the predefined services are there in Android. How can we create our own services, user-defined services? That topic is a separate topic. We'll talk about all these things in detail in the coming concepts of Android. So on the top of that, your Android applications are available. The apps what we downloaded from the Google Play Store. What are the apps you downloaded from the Google Play Store? Those apps are available here. Okay. So this is about the high level picture of Android actually. So hope you understand about that. So this is the main intention about how we are going to work with this respective part, and we understand the stuff clearly. Okay. So still we need to discuss what is the concept of Android booting. Booting, you know, right? Whenever you switch on the mobile, first you see the welcome screen is coming on your mobile. It will take some time. Directly, it will not show you the home screen. First, you will see that company logo, that is welcome screen will come. The splash screen, that is nothing but. So it will available for some time. After that, immediately then your home screen will launch. Why? Because internally the booting process will be goes on. So booting is nothing but activating all the things of your Android in the reverse order. Reverse order means hardware setup will be done. Means what are the hardware drivers are there that will be initialized, and your Linux kernel services was started. On the top on that, what are the Android services and Android libraries are ready to start in the beginning. Those things are also started automatically or by defaultly over here. It will take care about these responsibilities in the background. So finally, once your home screen is ready, in fact, your home screen is also one Android application only. Whatever the home screen you are seeing, whenever you press the home button, you see the home screen, right? There are a lot of app icons are there on the home screen. In fact, that home screen is also an Android application. So some of the Android applications are needed to start during the operating system whenever your device is started. So these applications are also started, and what are the services are ready to start in the beginning. All those services are started automatically. So all these things comes in the process of booting only. Okay. So whenever the booting process was completed, then you can see your home screen on your mobile. Finally, you can see home screen is an entry point in your Android. Home screen is a main application. That's an Android application. On that home screen only, you see variety of app icons are there. If home screen itself is not working, which app icon you click, man? First of all, the home screen cannot be opened because that is an entry point. Okay. So this is about booting process, guys. Booting means activating all the Android components in the mobile in the reverse order, starting from the hardware initialization, all the hardware related drivers and everything will be initialized. Linux kernel services was started internally. DVM services was activated. Android libraries are loaded by DVM internally. And what are the services which are required to start? In the beginning, all those services were started, and your Android applications which are downloaded from the Google Play Store. What are the apps which are available in your secondary memory? All those apps are initialized. Initialized means, what do you mean by that? App icons are displayed on your home screen. That is the meaning of initialization. Initialization is different than the execution. Okay. So once this stuff is done, finally you can see your home screen on your mobile. This concept is known as Android booting. Okay, guys. So I think hope you understand the high-level architecture and the fundamental story about what is Android architecture and what was the high-level architecture of Android we came to understand today. So it is very important topic what I want to discuss in detail. So hope you had a good experience by learning this architecture. In the tomorrow's class, I want to discuss about what is DVM and what is the difference between JVM and DVM. Why ART is replaced with DVM? What were the differences? Tomorrow I want to discuss this point in more detail. Then after that, we are going to jump into the first application of Android. Okay, guys. So this is about the discussion part. And any questions, please? Who attended newly to today's class? How many people? Regarding web services and REST API, do you have any plans for starting a batch? I am not teaching web services in the Durgasoft, guys. If you want, you can attend. The faculties are there to teach web services. I'm not teaching. My deal with the Durgasoft is to teach only Android and mobile technologies and the Kotlin programming language. This stuff I want to teach. Remember, Python, Java, both are good only. But my request to you is first learn Java. If you know Java, you can self-update Python yourself. Nothing great. So yes, why not, guys? You can attend the weekend batch. That weekend batch is not free. It is you have to pay it 6 hours per day. So thanks for bringing this point, guys. Weekend batch I'm going to start this weekend. Kotlin only one weekend. Saturday is 6 hours. Sunday is 6 hours. Totally. Weekend batch is there. Who want to learn the Kotlin programming language completely? They can attend the weekend batch. That is separate price. But what are the concepts of the Kotlin required for Android? I will cover in this Kotlin in Android in our Android course. But if you want to master them completely, if you want to learn the Kotlin programming language end to end, then you can come to that weekend batch. So fees is 5,500 is the fee for the Kotlin. The 2 days weekend will cover all that. I already said the course content. What are the concepts I'm going to cover in that 6 hours and 6 hours? We are going to cover in depth of the Kotlin. That's why I put it the title as mastering in Kotlin. We'll master it. So yeah, so that is what the point what you need to understand. So hope you can touch with the management on all these points. Any questions you need? So I think all of the questions are clear. Anyone is having any questions? So here we'll use all required for about Android means what do you mean by that? You mean about Kotlin, Rajesh? Okay. So what are the concepts which are required to Android related to Kotlin? I will cover in my course, syntaxes. But if you want in-depth of the Kotlin, if you want to completely know the language of the Kotlin end to end, then you can come to that course. By learning that Kotlin programming language is the future. So we are not writing Java code at anymore in the going forward. we are replacing the entire Java code. Yes, why not? That's what I'm saying. You can write web services in Kotlin. That's the future, guy. No one is writing the Java code in going forward. The next generation is Kotlin purely. Okay. Right. See, Kotlin web services development, I will not teach in Android. How to consume the web services, how to write a Kotlin code for developing Android application. Yes, in weekend batch I will cover. In weekend batch I will cover that. Correct. Okay. Cool. That's all. Thank you. We'll continue our session on tomorrow. You can contact the management to get the syllabus. I already shared the content.
Good.